How's it going, ScrubGamers? Welcome back to another video here at ScrubGames, and today we are going over my deck list for Dabura swap that I took to the webcam locals last Friday and had a ton of fun playing as well. Unfortunately, I did record my games as well because I didn't stream it. I did record all 5 of my games because we had a good 18 people sign up, so it was 5 games of fun best of 1 pre-side. But unfortunately didn't capture the audio, so I haven't bothered uploading it, even with the effects, because you can't really, some of it, like it's a bit of talking, explain what's going on and what the moves are going through, and yeah, so I didn't manage to get that. But I do have the deck profile, and before we get into it, feel free to like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. You can also click the notification bell to get alerts as when my videos do drop. And if you do subscribe, I'm very grateful, very helpful to the channel, and is helping us get on our way to 1,000 subs, which we're over halfway there, and hope to hit the target by at least the end of the year. So without further ado, let's get into the video and check out the list. So this is the Dabura swap, easily one of the better swap decks around at the moment. The only one really worth playing, and it's a ton of fun as well, because it's something a little bit different, and it might seem a neg because Bandai do seem didn't want Black to have any good cards after they hit it hard, and then over the last few sets, like after the last big ban list that hit a lot of Black stuff or kind of crippled Black, Bandai didn't really want to give any of it any good stuff, or even a deck for some sets. And this is one of the decks where it looked quite interesting and it is quite fun, but it does revolve around 2 main cards, which if you don't open them, you can have a harder time. But if you do open them, and also if you win the die roll, you can go off very hard and very aggressively. And that's one thing that drew me to it. So what we'll do is start off with the leader, going over that. Have a look and see what it does. So on the front side, you're just Dabura Zeno. So you're just Dabura. And its also is when this card attacks, you've got the top 5 cards of your deck, and up to 1 black evil wizard, black demon realm race, or black demon god card among them to your hand. Then shuffle your deck. So you get a bit of searchability to find one of your key cards or most cards in your deck. So we got a lot of targets for this, and it's very rare you're ever going to whiff. But if like, there's a possibility, like a very slim possibility, and if you do, that's going to be a feels bad. But you should rarely ever whiff off this, and it helps you get the consistency. You find a piece you need, like a swap piece and stuff like that. And that's your auto skills got on there apart from his Awaken, because Awaken is when your life's at 4 or less, or your opponent's leader is back, is facing up, and being an aggressive deck, you can kind of push your opponent to go down the low life and force them to Awaken to avoid taking all these like easy hits and making it easy for them to like combo out some swings, and that'll allow you to Awaken quicker. And if you do fulfill those conditions, you then get the draw 2, take your life down to 4, and then flip this card over. So straight away you basically just draw 2, so you get an extra 2 cards in hand, because this deck does lack when it comes to hand, because of how the swap mechanic works in this deck. And you also get to take your life down to 4, so if you're not already at 4, you can take yourself down to it, making your like things like super coming out, super combos, life straight away as soon as you Awaken, as soon as you push your opponent to Awaken. And even if your opponent awakens at does not Awaken, awakens at a higher life, you can still do this to Awaken. So it's either when you're at life at 4, or they're just flipped over. And when you do flip over, you're now a Demon God Dabura, Diabolical Awakening. So now you're like the bigger Dabura. So the big Zen of Demon God version. And now you have your auto's now changed, so it's no longer searching. It's now just when this card attacks, draw 1. So you don't replace with a search to just a standard draw now. Not as great, because it was a lot nicer to be able to search targets that like keep that consistency, but still get a draw. Can draw and just give you that extra card. That could be a card you might be looking for. That's not searchable from the lead. And then you got 2 activate skills. You got an activate main and an activate battle. And they're both once per turn. And the activate main is something we got similar to Supreme Card of Time, where you get a little bit of consistency in keeping around your unison, because the one thing about this deck is it rolls heavily around the unison to actually trigger your swap, because it's one of the decks that came out during the whole Spirit Boost era, like theme of the time, when we had the Unison Warrior series go into the Spirit Boost era, where you need unisons and take markers off and stuff. This heavily revolves around that. So if you don't have a unison, it's okay. Your leader can also get it back. It does cost 1 black though, because its effect is activate main once per turn for 1 black. Play up to one black unison card with no specified cost and 20k power from your drop with a marker on it in rest mode, and at the end of the turn send that card to its owner's warp. You're never going to worry about it sending to your warp because you're going to be using all the markers off it with all the different effects to lose it before it ends up. And if you replace it with another unison, because you do have a unison here within power and no specified cost, you can replace it, and then since it's a different unison, it's not removed at the end. They kind of keep around for this leader's second effect. So a nice little bit consistent, a little bit of way to, just like Supreme Card Time, to get unison back to actually make use of the key part strategy which it revolves around. And in the activate battle skill is a nice one where once per turn, Spirit Boost once, taking a mark off unison. This guy gains 6k power for the battle, so that's quite handy if your opponent goes to like trying to out combo without using like out combo swing and put pressure on without using cards in hand. You can take a mark off your unison to just get a 6k boost, and it's quite nice, especially defensively. If your opponent goes 20k, just by knocking a marker off, you get out combo a 20k swing, which is pretty cool. And that's all the leader does. So it's a decent leader, nice little bit of consistency with the ability to grab the unison. I do like that. And now we'll get onto the main cards in the set. So start off with the the two main pieces we need. So start off the first one being unison, of course, because it does revolve heavily around unison. And that is Dark King Mechigabura, Might Inconceivable. So we play a 4/4 of these because we need to see this in our opening hand. We need to see it as soon as possible, because if you don't have a unison play, you can't really do any of your swap shenanigans because they're mostly spirit boost. Well, all spirit boost. So it's a 20k no specified cost unison with empowered black 2. So if it replaces a unison, it can carry up to 2 markers from that previous unison over. So a nice way, if you do use the effect of the lead to play out a unison, you can then play a new one to like carry on those markers it had, and then have be able to increase your markers again even more to have more abilities to more uses of spirit boost to swap or use your leader, and also then keeps the unison around until for your opponent's turn then as well. It does have a permanent that kind of hinders it from actually doing damage because the 20k unison is quite strong, and that's a permanent where if this card has 3 or fewer markers on, it can't attack. And the annoying thing about this is where it's got Empower Black 2, it can only go up to a 3 cost, a 3 marker unison if you replace it, because it only carries over 2 and then could plus up to 1 and still can't attack. A bit of a shame, but Bandai seem to think that was a bit busted if it was 2 or fewer markers. And then it's got an auto as well, which is a little bit quite nice. Comes up in like useful sometimes, which is auto once per turn. When you play a black Demon Realm race card using swap, choose one of your opponent's battle cards with entry cost of 3 or less and 2 in his warp. So a nice little bit of removal if need be, and it comes sometimes to be handy against certain like little blocks as a little thing, or if you want to clear your opponent's board, it actually becomes handy. And then its only marker skill is a +1 activate main, which is choose one card in your hand, place it at the bottom of your deck, and then draw one card. So that's all in the effect. So if you do trigger that, you have to bottom deck one to draw one, and that's annoying when it comes up against things like Slug. Slug is a horrible card to go against, because if they got on board, you've got bottom deck to get a +1, but then you don't draw because Slug stops you from drawing outside your leader. And as a unison, so we're mainly playing that one, just that one as well, because we just want to try and find it. And we have ways to try and search it, and there's some cards that actually search for it on the top lot. But that's the main unison that we require, and that's one of 2 cards that are like the main pieces of the deck, the strategy and the cores of it. Then we go to the other card that is a card that you kind of need to see. Well, you need to see it to have like the best performance of the deck, but it's the unison that you really need to see, and this card is like an extra one that just powers up, like steps on the gas quite hard for the deck, and that is 4 copies of Mechigabura, the King Summon. So this is a card all the way back from set 12. So this deck, most of this deck is from 616, the same set that Dabura came out in. But this card for set 12 is what gives it a big boost to kind of like be a very, very aggressive black deck. So it's a free cost 15k, but that never matters because you're only using it for its skill. And that is activate main by paying 2 if your leader is a black Demon Realm race card, and you place this card from your hand and 1 card from your life in your drop area, so you have to create a life. So if you go down to 1, you can't really use it, but then you're probably dead by the time you get pushed that far. And the effect is to send 1 battle card from your opponent's drop area to the warp. It's a nice little benefit against Crimson, be able to like control the amount of saiyans they have in their drop, so that way they have a harder time to awaken. And then you get to play up to 2 black battle cards with Evil Wizard and or Demon Realm Race with an entry cost of 2 and different character names that aren't Mecha Dabura cards from your deck, and then shuffle your deck, and then you can activate the active main skill copies of this card for a turn. So you get a one-time use of this effect a turn, but essentially you get to you pay 2, discards from your hand, create a life, and then play 2 beginning of swap targets, like cards that start off the swap, so the little mini ones, to start off your swing and get a few, quite a few swings in. It's really nice. Main card, like if you don't see this one, it's not too bad. You can still try and do stuff with what you have in your hand. It's mainly the unison that you really need to see and like 100% need to open in your opening hand to play turn 1. But this card is also a card that just goes full throttle when you do see it, giving you an very explosive turn 2 or 3. So those are the staple ones, 4 of each, and then we go into the swap cards. So the swap beginnings and end results. So you got 3 copies of Poutine Annihilation at hand. So this is the beginning of the Poutine chain. So as you'll see, they all have similar things with their swap, which is swap something, but in this case swap 3, Spirit Boost 1, and you choose 1 card in your hand, place it at the bottom of your deck, and then play out the same character that is the cost in the swap. So in this case, you play a black Poutine with energy cost of 3, and as you see, all of them, mostly all of them, the beginning of the swap targets, need to put a card from your hand at the bottom of your deck, so you're kind of not really gaining cards like a normal swap deck would be, like keeping a good sized hand and just putting on pressure. You're actually kind of losing cards, but luckily most of the cards, when you play the higher ups, they can basically replace that card you put back by drawing a card or searching something like that. And one benefit of this one is, even though it goes up to a very good target in the 3-drop Poutine, which we'll see in a sec, it also has a nice auto when this card is played. Look up to 3 cards from the top of your deck, and up to 1 black Evil Wizard, black Demon Realm Race card, or black Demon God card, or 1 black Unison with no specific cost, and 1 of them to your hand, and place the remaining of the cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. So this could be a nice card to play turn 1. If you don't see Unison, just to get out the just be able to look at the Unison and help make sure you have it, because as I said, the Unison the key strategy, because all the swapped cards have Spirit Boost 1, needing the Unison to have markers to remove just so you can do the swap parts. But that's the Poutine, and the Poutine then goes up into the 3-drop Poutine, and the only one we play is the Demon God Poutine Umbral Might. And that's a 3-drop 15k, mainly used in the Token Tower deck. And this one's a very nice one because it also, like all the targets it goes up to, has a way to draw and put on some pressure as well. And it's got blocker, which could come out useful to help defend if need be. You can also play it out without swap, and that is using its Dark Overwhelm, which is Dark Overwhelm 3 by paying 1 energy. So you still pay 1 energy, but you can bring it out without using the swap by another means. And then it's got 2 nice skills. First one is Auto, which ties in with the second effect, which is when this card is played from your hand, play 1 Demon Realm Soldier token, which is a token that has 5k power, 0 combo cost, 5k combo power. So at the very least, if you don't, you can do nice things where you can play the token out, swing with the token to try and push damage, then swing with this and use the activate battle effect after that, which is what's per turn. Choose 1 of your Demon Realm Soldier tokens and remove it from the game. Draw 1 card, then switch this card to active mode, and it gains 10k power for the battle. So you can, that's one nice thing about this, is you get play this out, play the token, and if you're at like 4 less life and you got super combo, you can just go swing with the token, use super combo to push through, try and force damage with the token, then swing with the Poutine, then use the effect to send off the sack off the token, restand it, make it 25k for that battle, and then you get a 3rd swing, and all for potentially 1 energy and 1 swap, which is very nice. And then it ties in really well with the token negate for token 8 for black as well, because then you can be a bit defensive, going like using the token negate, then blocking with the token you make, and sacking off the token in mid battle after they've done up all their combos to then restand Poutine, end the battle because the token's now gone, and draw a card, which is really cool. It's just got like some like nice little utility in certain interactions as well. And then we have the Dabura line. So we got 2 Dabura ready to strike. This is a really nice card. It's not the target I really like to get, and I prefer to have it there my opponent awakened when I do drop this because of its effect. But first of all, with its swap, it's swap 4. So the Toa and Demon Poutine that we've seen and will see, they are swap 3, whereas Dabura is swap 4. And the same thing, Spirit Boost 1, if your leader is a black Dabura Zeno card and you choose 1 card in your hand to place it at the bottom of your deck, a black Dabura Zeno card energy cost of 4, so it switches into a 4 cost, which we'll see in a sec. And it's also is when this card is played, your opponent may choose one card from hand and set it to the warp. And if they don't, you get to choose one of your opponent's leader cards in rest mode, or up to one of the battle cards with entry cost of 4 or less in rest mode, and it can't attack until the end of the next turn. So how we've seen with the yellow Sin deck, you can play this out to make it so they can't attack, but they've got the option of warping a card from hand, so you can kind of have a little bit of hand control where you do playing this aggro, or just make it so they can't attack with their lead for the turn. So we play 2 copies of this because it's not the greatest, but still it can swing for damage on unawakened leaders as well because of the 10k. It's not too bad. But the normal target we like to grab first is the Dabura Annihilation Hand, because this is a super combo. So it's a 2 cost 15k, super combo, so 15k means you can even pressure some awakened leaders as well, being 15k. And super combo, and it's similar to the other Dabura. It's got swap 4, but this one doesn't have to put a card back for hand because it's just swap Spirit Boost 1. If your leader is a black Dabura Zeno card, the black Dabura Zeno card with entry cost of 4. So this is a nice one where you don't have to put a card from hand back to the bottom of your deck to swap this out. You just do it without, and you get a super combo to hand, which is quite nice. So this is the main one I like to have because it's a 15k swing. It's then a free super combo you've added to your hand. You basically searched, and you don't lose anything from your hand trying to play out the 4-drop Dabura. And speaking of 4-drop Dabura, we play 3 copies of it, and it's Demon God Dabura Umbral Might. So this is a really nice one. You can Dark Overrun, but you don't really want to do that because its Dark Overrun is 4 and requires free energy, which is expensive. You just want to normally swap it out. And he's a nice one because he's off just 4 cost, 20k, so no double strike or anything like that. But he's got a really nice auto. When this card is played, you draw 1, and then your opponent chooses 1 card in hand as it's a warp. So when you're trying to aggress your opponent, you're then fiddling with their hand, making them warp cards to like loosen the hand, lessen the hand while you keep hitting them, which is really, really nice, just to keep their hand a little bit low while you're just constantly swinging. So we play 3 copies of that, just to keep the deck small enough to make sure we've got targets, because most of them are quite searchable, especially after 1-drop Poutine a lead. You can find most of your targets. And then we go to the Toa chain. So we've got 3 copies of Toa Annihilation Hand. And this one is a really nice one as well, because just like the Dabura super combo, it's also 15k for 2 as well, so one of the good targets. So it's like the Dabura and Poutine put together, because it's got the same strength as the Dabura super combo, being 15k, and it's also got a search effect just like Poutine as well. And as we see, it's a swap effect. It's swap 3, Spirit Boost 1. If your leader is a black Dabura Zeno card and you choose 1 card in your hand, place it at the bottom of your deck, you basically switch it out into a Toa card with entry cost of 3. And as I said, it's the same like Poutine's. Look at top 3 to find either a black Evil Wizard, Demon Realm Race, Demon God, or a black Unison with no specified cost, and that's your hand, and put the rest of the bottom in any order. So as one little benefit, and also one thing I like is the target for Toa as well. I think there are a few targets. I know there are a few targets of Poutine, like you can play the one that's mainly used in yellow, and also there's some interesting targets for Toa, but the one we use is the Demon God Toa Umbral Might, mainly because of what it does, which is being a 15k dual attacker, and that's really nice because it gets you more swings as well. And just like Poutine, you can get 2 swings out of it, and also it's a very nice effect. So it's a 3 cost 15k dual attack. It's got an EX Evolve, which is 1 black and 1 and a native color to play on top of a Toa with energy cost of 2, but you normally gonna swap it in because you want to pay 2 when you could just swap it in for free. And when this card is played from your hand, you draw 1, so you replace this in hand. So even though you bottom deck in a card from hand with 2-drop Toa, you're then replacing that card by drawing a new card with when you play this. And it's got a nice little effect to kind of keep your opponent's hand low if you leave their unison on board with enough markers on. Because then your opponent may choose 2 of their battle cards and/or cards from their hand, set into it as warps, and if your opponent sent 1 or fewer cards to their warp using the skill, you get to choose up to 1 of their unisons with 4 or more markers on and gain control of it. So it's really nice if your opponent gets out a unison, like they got a blue unison, like playing it blue. You can play this out and draw 1, and if they got a blue unison with 4 more markers, you go, I'm going to use this effect. If you warp, you can warp 2 cards or take a unison, and if you warp less than 1 card or less, I get to take a unison. And most of the time they're going to warp the 2 cards, lesser in their hand, because they don't want you to take their 4 marker unison. You can play 3 copies of it because most of these are like you got all the searchability from your lead and from like the 1-drop Poutine and 2-drop Toe as well. Try and find them, and normally when you do go and use the Mecha Dabura to play out, it depends on what swap targets you have in your hand, being the 3-drop Poutine or Toa or the Dabura. And that is all the swap targets. So that's all we got for there, and then we go into some of the other cards. So we got 3 copies of our Ever Super Combo, being Demon God Gravy, Imperial Warrior. So just standard super combo, it's a Demon God, so it's searchable off most of the search effects. And it's just when you use 4 or less, using combo draw 1. It's a nice one because it gives that searchability to be able to find the super combos, instead of just hoping to draw into the really good ones, like the Vegito. This has a nice little bit of being searchable. And as well as that, just standard draw 1. And since you can awaken like quite easily with this lead and go sit yourself down to 4, it's going to be live most of the time as soon as you're awakened. And we play 2 Black Smoke Dragon Accumulated Negativity, so it's just a really handy one against certain matchups, where if you need to get rid of anything, or say you didn't see a Unison or Mecha Dabura, and you're struggling, and you need other options, this is probably the cheapest way in black to get barrier removal, or just to get rid of something that's an issue. Like if you got opponents got Slug, you don't mind taking the time to just pay this for 2 on your turn 2 to get rid of the Slug, so you can then not neg so hard on any of your skills, because Slug does hurt this deck quite a bit. And then we've got 2 copies of the Sun Gohan Hostile Saiyan Encounter, the Sun Gohan rare. So it's really nice. With this effect, he's got 3 things. He's got, first of all, he's got a permanent, which reads, when this card will be removed from a battle area, it's removed from the game instead. So if it's in the battle area and it's removed, it's gone from the game for good. And it's got two effects. Either could become really nice, but it's mainly the first auto that is the best part. And that is also limit 1. If your leader is if your leader is black or a Master's Teachings card, your life is at 4 or less, and you add 1 card from your hand to your life. Place 1 card from your hand at the bottom of your deck, and then when your opponent attacks with a battle card, you may play this card from your drop or warp and rest mode and negate the attack. So it's a really nice thing when your opponent's trying to push through with a counter. You can, if they use a negate and they counter it, you can then use this after to then still negate the attack after they've countered, which is really nice and beneficial. And sometimes it just becomes a nice handy negate if you don't have one in hand and you need to negate attack. Just having this available in your warp or drop is really handy. And then we got the Ever Auto being 1 black. If your leader is black, when this card is added to your Z energy, choose it to one of your opponent's battle cards with entry cost of 4 or less, sent to his owner's warp. So if you ever need that effect, you got that, but normally you're not going to be spending energy for that. It's normally for the first auto that you can be using this card. So with that one, we go to the next card. And the next one we have is 4 copies of Supreme Card of Time, Guardian of Space Time. Now with this card, as I said, a lot of the time you're putting back cards to the bottom of your deck from your hand to swap out, and you're not keeping the biggest hand size. So one nice little benefit is having 4 copies of Supreme Card of Time, because it just adds extra combo power on your swings when you got a low hand, which is most of the time, to push through more damage with these small little swings. You're swinging a lot, such as a chip away, or even putting through some super combos of these cards to put through some big power swings, making like a Toa, a dual attacker, into a 25k for 1 swing using this. It's quite nice. And yeah, it's just what it is there for. It's just for the extra 10k combo when your hand's quite low, and you never worry about the other effect because your leader's not Black Saiyan. Then we have the overall a choice. I went for Bardock Awakened Instincts. I was going to put in when we get the new set, I'm probably going to put in the Goku, because it comes down as 20k for Reveron 5 with crit and draws you a card, so you get a nice bit of crit pressure on a swing and also draw for your deck. But in the meantime, this one I feel is a really nice one, because sometimes you're going to overwhelm the Poutine in if you can't get the Poutine 1-drop out to play it out and you got the energy. But sometimes you want a free overwhelm and want to keep your energy for like playing out Unison if you need be, or using Mecha Dabura to King Summon. So I went for a free overwhelm, and I found this one to be really nice, just to help bring down a 20k attack for free over on 4, and also allow you to draw for your deck a little bit more by drawing 2 and discarding 1 card. And sometimes you can have deck cards in hand, like some of the extra cards in the deck, and you might not need them or use them, or not have any more swaps to put them back at the bottom of the deck. So you can always just draw 2 brand new cards and discard that dead extra card, or even use it as a way to pop Sun Gohan Hostile Saiyan Encounter in your drop, ready to use his effect if you need be defensively. So we've got 2 copies of that. And then our last battle card being Pan Time Patrol Maiden. So that's a secret rare of choice for the deck. Like you could go for Cumber. I know a lot of people are going for Cumber for all the black decks now because it's such a good secret rare. But I'd rather go for Pan in this deck because where you can spam out a whole board of like little cards, like you can spam out quite a wide board with all these swings. I like to have Pan down instead of a free card. You can play down 40k for an extra final swing to push through that last damage, which could be very handy. And even then, if the need ever comes up, and your opponent's trying to kill you with battle cards, and it on 3 more energy, and there's enough to make it down to 0, using counter attack could come in handy, but it's mainly there for the aggressive 3 to 40k when you go wide with your board. So that is it for the battle cards. Let me go to the extra cards. So we got 2 copies of Attack of the Empire. So this is a card to help try and, like an extra card that you can either mainly charge, put back with swap, discard, or use if you want to try and, if you don't open the unison, try and find it. Because it's an activate main for one energy. If your leader is a black Demon Realm race card, you get to look at the top 7 cards from your top of your deck, and then choose 1 or 2 options. So you either add 1 black Evil Wizard, black Demon Realm race, or black Demon God card among them to your hand, then shuffle your deck. So search for a one of your main Archslap cards, mainly your swap targets, the Meki Dabura, or your super combo. Or if you have no unison card in play, you get to play up to 1 black unison card with no specified cost, a 20k power among them, with a marker on it, and then shuffle your deck. So if you didn't open with a unison, you can then try and look at top 7, try and look for as far in your deck as you can with your mulligan and your opening hand to try and find a unison if you didn't get it, and then play it straight onto the board. We only play 2 of these because it's just handy if you don't see the unison, like more options to basically have a unison, such as you playing so 6 copies if you don't open with the 4 you already have in deck. And if not, you can always charge it or put it back with the Spirit Root skills. Then the next card we got is 2 copies of Petrification. Now this card kind of has like gone down a bit in usefulness as the formats have gone, as sets have gone on, because it used to be a really good card and one of the black's really best ways to deal with cards ignoring barrier, because they'd be able to attack with it. You can then negate the attack, choose one of the battle cards, and it'd stop it from being comboed, attacking, or using its skills. But if it's got a permanent skill, it doesn't matter because it just stops him from activating the skills. But it can come handy in certain matchups. And luckily for me, it came in handy when I played against a yellow Sim because he got the 9-drop out. I'm going to use this to turn that 9-drop Sin off. And so I can actually bring cards in and still use a swap where normally they would be negged to being skillless thanks to the 9-drop. So it's come in handy sometimes, but it is a card I was considered taking out. But I would probably keep it in after I did find it useful for certain decks. So if you get a lot more, some of those decks that like to grind it out and like survive a little bit and try and make it a longer game than a quick game you want to make it, then this could come in really handy. And 2 copies is absolutely fine because remember you can always charge it or put it back with a Spirit Boost skill. Then we've got 3 copies of Super Kamehameha. This one was a key card, and I wish I had a side deck built for Friday for the event, and I would have put a 4th copy in it because this was such a good card. Just where you can take yourself down to 4 or less 4 life from your awakening. It's just fantastic, being able to make you sit straight down to 4, because then this comes live, using your energy, using your life instead of energy to stop things like floodgates and stuff. Because just counterplay, or if your leader is black and your life is a 4 or less, if the battle card being played, its energy costs a 3 or less, it's sent to the war instead of being played. And if your life is at 4 or less and all your energy is black, you can activate this card counter without paying the cost by taking a card from your life to your hand instead. So that's really nice. And where you just straight up awaken, take your life down to 4, makes your super combos in this card extremely alive just to deal with floodgates, which is fantastic. I wouldn't put it higher than in the main deck than 3 because 3 still makes it so you will see 1 by the time you go to kill, and if you need an extra 1, you can see more, but you can always side the 4th copy if you really need it. And then it rounds off the last card in the deck being the Token Negate, being 3 copies of it. Really nice Token Negate. Token Negates are used in almost every deck nowadays because they're just great, being on a negate attack and play a top blocker token that you can then defend and never attack with. And it comes a little bit more useful in this deck because if you've got Poutine on the board, you can then block the next attack after, so you can negate 1 attack, play out a token, block the next attack with a token, then use Poutine to sack off the token, restand yourself, and make your 10k for that battle and draw your card, and then you can use the Poutine to then block a 3rd attack after that. So you got a bit more utility from this in this deck, from the black token negates in this deck, and it's just a very good card. And also, at the very least, if you don't use it as a blocker, you can always use the token as combo power in the next turn, or even more fuel for Poutine if you've got one from the turn before. But that is the main deck, so that's the main. We go on to the side deck stuff. So here is the side and Z deck as well. So, start off with the Z deck. We have 2 copies of SSB Vegeta, just a way to take your life down if need be. Like in any case where you need to take your life down for a certain amount, like for whatever reason, you got that as well, or a way to use his energy, just could come up, could be useful. But it's not strong; it's just there if you need it. It could be a decent card because you can easily swing with it as well, which is a nice thing. And you got Boo, a very nice one that we got in the dash pack. You never worry about the first activate main because it's all to do with AOD. It's more the second one, the activate main for limit 1. If your leader is black and you have 3 or more energy, you place one of your Z energy and you drop, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, place it under this card, and this card gets 20k power until the end of your opponent's turn. So it's really nice, very handy if your opponent has any blockers in play, or use a token to get blocker. You can play this out, absorb the blocker, and then you now have 25k to swing with for 1 energy, which is very useful. And it's a great card. I have 2 copies of them here. Probably could put up more. Probably will put more of them in there, but I only have 2 at the moment. Then we got Toa, the one we got an anniversary box to give it a bit of support. So it's a 1 cost that requires 2 Z energy and 4k power. It's got Deflect. Nice little auto where once per turn if your leader is a black Dabura Zeno card, you activate Swap, you draw 1, so you can kind of get a little bit more of a draw when you're using Swap once a turn. And it's got a nice way to cheat out to do more chains as well by using the activate main. Limit 1 if your leader is a black Demon Realm Race card and you place 1 card for your hand at the bottom of your deck. Play up to 1 Evil Wizard or Demon Realm Race card, both black with energy cost of 2 or less, and swap from your hand. So it allows you to, most of the time when you're doing a swap, you put in the smaller target in your hand to bring out the bigger target, so you can then bring it back out again with this card to then swap again to drop more chains. And really nice where if you could drop like 2 towers in a good turn, so 3 drops to get 4 swings, 15k, or even multiple Poutines or Daburas as well is really nice. A nice little option in the Z deck. Unfortunately, I didn't have this because my cards I ordered didn't come in time, and I just didn't have them. And then you got the Dabura, or the Demigo, which could come in handy. I just never tied it in the deck. To win the Z side deck, I didn't have a side deck built as well because I just built the main deck. Didn't really have time to think about it. But for the side deck, I will probably have is 2 Ghost Warriors because this is just handy to stop things like the Kaioken secret rare that could become a bit more useful depending on certain things. Like Bean is being errata, so it's no longer useful against Bean, but it's still good against Kaioken secret. Because the issue with Blue is now is they have 3 very good secret rares, and you never can really tell which secret rare they're playing until they drop it. And sometimes people are playing, even though most people are playing the Gohan, some people might be playing the Goku, so having this basically stop the Goku from being able to untap, play a load more stuff in a single turn. Even though it might not come up against this deck, it could do it because Blue is quite defensive. I don't want to take that chance to have 2 of those inside. And the same with Gohan, we got that to hate on D Magic if we're going against Blue deck. You can put this down potentially on like turn 3 if the Unison survives that turn before the turn 2, and prevent your opponent wanting to use D Magic if they tap out. And a nice little one is Heavenly Wizard Demigra. This card is searchable in the deck as well with all the effects because they search for a black Evil Wizard. And it's a really nice one where during your turn when you combo with this card, if your opponent has 3 or less energy, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards. Normal barrier would 3,000 power or more and KO it. So it's a really nice one for against things like the yellow Sin deck, where if they got the 9-drop Sin and you don't want to wait a turn for them to run into petrification, then you always got this card to kind of remove it to continue on with your turn as normal because it doesn't require energy. It's searchable for lever, so you can always swing the lead. They go, and you go, your effect, grab this, and then combo with it to pop the 9-drops in so you didn't continue with turn, not worry. And it gets through barrier, hitting other things as well that might be an issue. Then we got 4 copies of Dabura because once again, another card that's searchable off the lead and helps deal with hand control because where we got a low hand. If everybody gets hand control, we're not. Most of the time it's in green where you got things like Dormant and stuff and Freezer to kind of like hinder your chain. So this could be a handy thing to have in there, searchable off of most of the cards in the deck and most of the searches to be able to mitigate your opponent trying to reduce your hand by playing things on board and also allowing you to keep your hand healthy. And we've got 2 different Overrealms types you play. So you got Bardock if your opponent goes to 6 or more, like drops a lot of 6 or more battle cards on board. Get rid of those. And Dark Broly, if you want an overrun that you can play, get rid of something you put on your opponent's board that you want to get rid of, because it's not much removal for things that are 4 cost and more in this deck, could be an issue, which is mainly what you use the blue for. And as well as that, you can also bring it back for 2 energy if you ever need be. Too expensive 2 energy for this deck to play back, but it could be handy as different targets for different decks. The other 2 extra cards we got is a 4th copy of Super Card and a half if you need it, and then 2 copies of Ultimate minus Energy Powerball. I like this card because where you're always trying to keep a use on board, you can play this for free, and it's got a nice handy effect where if your leader is mono black, which it is, you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards with 15k power or less, ignoring barriers since it is warp. So if you get played against something like AOD and you want to turn off their Bobbity so you can not get hit hard by the Android 13 counterplay, if they've only got 1 energy open, you can then remove it, force them to try and get it back down or leave 2 energy open, and then, or even against other things, we want to get rid of certain cards, or at very least you can then use it as a kind of attack boost for your leader or a battle card since you never swing with the Unison. So it's a nice little extra card that could be coming handy in certain matchups. So we've got 2 in this side. And that is it for the deck. So that is the main C deck and side. So feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you've got any suggestions for this deck or any questions about it. If I haven't covered anything anything specific in this deck. I did have a lot of fun playing. I look forward to playing it a bit more and hopefully get some more games with it that I can record, because I thought some of the games were quite good that I had on Friday. Some interesting matchups the way I played to help against certain decks. But of course, where I messed up with the sound on it, they're not really good to post up. But thank you for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.